A very good evening to you all. You are listening to Studio 7 from the Voice of America on Wednesday, December the 2nd, 2020. And this is Diaspora Live Talk. I'm Jonga Kandemire.
And I'm Gibbs Dube in Maryland.
Tonight on Live Talk Diaspora Forum, we are looking at the COVID-19 cases in the country and the world. As at December 1st, 2020, Zimbabwe had 10,129 confirmed cases, including 8,643 recoveries and 277 deaths.
And worldwide, according to Johns Hopkins University, there are 14 million people that have contracted COVID-19. And out of this number, 1,483,859 have actually died. And according to the same hospital, 10 million people have contracted COVID-19 in USA, and 270,728 have actually died. So ke kwele Zimbabwe khanya isibili yamemetheka umkhuhlane lo COVID-19 okunye okumangalisayo. So nxa sikhangela ke kulabantu bedlula 10,000 asebebanjwe i-COVID-19, abayi-8,643 ngabantu asebasiphepha kumkhuhlane lo. Kube sokusiba labanye sibili ababhubhayo ngezikhathi ezitshiyeneyo. Nxa sikhangela ke emhlabeni onke jikelele, i-Johns Hopkins University biko ukuthi kulabantu bedlula 14 million asebebanjwe i-COVID-19, kuthi kunani leli kulabayi-1,483,859 asebabhubha. Siyabeka njalo isibhedlela leso ukuthi abedlula 10 million sebebanjwe umkhuhlane lo kwelemelika, bese kusithi ke abayi-270,728 balaba sebabhubha. Kunjalo ke mfowethu.
Ongwadi wateereri ndizvozvo chaizvo nhasi muchirongwa chedu chatiri kutarisa zvinoyesangana nevana veZimbabwe vari kunze kwenyika pamwe nevari muZimbabwe. Tiri kutarisa nezvedenda rechirwere cheCovid-19. Kusvika pari nhasi, Zimbabwe yava nevanhu vanokwana kuita 10,129 kana kuti zviuru 10,120 nevapfumbamwe vabatwa nechirwere ichi. Ipapo pane vanokwana kuita 8,643 kana kuti zviuru 9,643 vapona. Vafa kusvika pari zvino vakwana kuita 277 kana kuti 240. Pamusoro pezvo tinoona kuti nezuro chete vanhu vanokwana kuita 95 kana kuti 55 vakabatwa nechirwere ichocho. Ipapo 55 kana kuti 55 vari mudunhu reBulawayo, koti 23 vari mudunhu reMashonaland East. Dunhu reMashonaland East mazuva apera ranga redunhu ranga richiva navanhu 2-3 kana kutoshaya munhu anenge aine chirwere ichi. Asi tiri kuona kuti uwandu hwevanhu vari kubatwa nechirwere ichi pari zvino mudunhu iri vave kuwanda, uwandu hwave kukwira. Totarisawo pasi rose, Johns Hopkins University hospital iri muno muAmerica iri kuti vanhu vabatwa nechirwere ichi pasi rose vadarika mamiliyoni 64 kana kuti 64 million, kuchiti vanhu vakuda kutosvika pamiliyoni nechidimbu kana 1.5 million vafa nechirwere ichi. MuAmerica vanhu vanodarika mamiliyoni 13 kana 13 million vabatwa nechirwere ichi, nevanhu vanodarika 270,000 kana kuti zviuru 240 vafa nechirwere ichochi. Pamusoro pezvo tichatarisawo nezvekuvhurwa kwemiganhu kana mabhodha akavhurwa nezuro. Zimbabwe yakavhura mabhodha ayo 5 mahombe nezuro. Tichaona kuti zvinhu zvakamira sei kune zviri kuitika ikoko, asi wakawanda vari kutyira kuti kuvhurwa kwemabhodha kunogona kuita kuti chirwere kana dambudziko recoronavirus riwande munyika. Pamusoro pezvo tichatarisawo zviri kuitika muno muAmerica pasarudzo dzakaitwa musi wa3 Mbudzi kana 3 November. Nezuro takanzwa mutongi mukuru kana kuti Attorney General weAmerica vaWilliam Barr vachitaura kuti aiwa zviri kutaurwa navaTrump nechikwata chavo kuti sarudzo dzakabirwa zvine mutsindo. Handizvo, ndoda kugadziridza pakuti mutongi mukuru ndiro gweta guru renyika, Attorney General, gweta guru renyika rehurumende reAmerica. Vari kutaura kuti aiwa zvekutaurwa kunzi sarudzo dzakabirwa zvemhando yepamusoro-soro handizvo. Ndo zvimwe zvatichakurukura nhasi, Gibbs.
Yes, as Jonga is saying, the Attorney General, Mr. William Barr, of the Justice Department, said, there is no evidence of widespread voter fraud. That would actually change the outcome of the 2020 presidential election. His comments come despite President Donald Trump's repeated claims that the election was stolen, and his refusal to concede his loss to President-elect Joe Biden. So in an interview with the Associated Press, Barr said U.S. attorneys and FBI agents have been working to follow up specific complaints and information they have received, but uncovered no evidence that will change the outcome of the election. So yakutsho khonapha ke umnumzana uWilliam Barr igqwetha elikhulu lemelika ithi hayi akulalutho oluveza ukuthi ukhetho lwemelika lwatshontshwa. So ke uthi hayi akulalutho loba nje umongameli Donald Trump engafisi ukuthi ayamukele impumela yokhetho lolu. So sibone ngazani kulobu uzima okunye okumangalisayo. Yes, siyabona njalo ke kulabantu asebechapha umngcele kulandela ke ukuvulwa kwemngcele yelizwe. So we are seeing an issue here that Jonga, the borders have now been opened, so pedestrians can now cross at will, and some people are happy that they are returning home, and some are happy that they are actually sending goods back home. So some is facing very serious challenges in sending goods home, because they are saying those people that they were giving those goods were misplacing them, or somehow some of the items, including money, was misappropriated. So they are really happy, but others fear that maybe this will result in a high number of, or let me say, high cases of COVID-19. So kunjalo ke Chokanmir.
Ndizvo Gibbs ndanzwa Dennis Juru wanomutungamiri wesangano revanoita zvekutenga nekutengesa zvinhu kunze kwenyika reInternational Cross Border Traders Association vachiti vagadzirira kupinda muchirongwa chedu, asi vari kuti vachange vachingokwanisa kunge vari muchirongwa kwemaminutes 15 kana 15. International Cross Border Traders Association President Mr. Dennis Juru is one of our guests. Gibbs, I think he is ready now.
Yes, he's actually ready to join us. So let me actually hear from him. Just 1 second. Let's get him into the program so that we can hear what he's saying about what is going on across the borders. So he's trying to call us here, but this call is not doing the right thing. So maybe we'll call him back in 15 minutes. But we've got one of the cross-border drivers, commonly known as Omalaita. So the guy's name is Ntando Ndlovu. Ntando, welcome to the program, sir.
Thank you so much.
Yes, so how are things?
Things are well at the moment.
Oh yes, so you guys, you can now cross the border, or what is going on?
I think I was last at the border by the weekend. So the border was opened yesterday for pedestrians. I think I'll be at the border this weekend on Saturday. That's when I will see what is happening regarding pedestrians. But on our side, in Zomalaisha, we started transporting goods with level 3. So our pedestrians obviously were not allowed to cross the border. Only crossing within pass. Some pedestrians were not allowed totally.
So how was it to cross the borders, when you were under level 3? Were you crossing, or you actually giving people your goods and all those kind of things?
As a Malaysia, we're crossing. We're allowed to cross. We get special permits for crossing.
And what's needed what's needed for somebody to cross the border? We are told you have to be tested. You have to have a certificate that is not more than 72 hours late or something like that.
For what? For pedestrians?
Yes.
Yeah, pedestrians, you need to have a certificate which is not older than 72 hours, which is 3 days. You need to have that certificate, and you need to have a permit, either a permanent residence permit in South Africa, or a student permit, or a temporal permit, like this Zimbabwe special permit.
Chonga?
You need to have.
Yes. Okay, hold on then, Ntando. Kumbe sikhulume ngesindebele futhi sithi siyakwamukela kuhlelo. Akusitshela ukuthi ukuhamba njani khona manje njengoba umngcele usuvuliwe. Kwenzakalani baba?
Oh, ukhuluma nami?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. njengoba umzali Sivile bengitshilo ukuthi eborder mina eborder ngigcine kungakavulwa for ama-pedestrian ngoba bekuhamba impahla kuphela. Abantu bebengakavunyelwa ukuhamba, so since kuvuliwe izolo angingafiki. But into engiyaziyo ukuthi abantu abavunyelwa ukuhamba, abantu abahamba ngemoto zabo nabahamba amabhasi, abantu abangeni kubomalayisha lokho kusasebenza ukuthi siyadonsa amatrela sihambele abantu ngamakhampani akusavunyelwa. Kuvunyelwa amabhasi nalaba asemabhasini, ibhasi ayigcwaliswa leyo kuthiwa ngigena abantu abangu-70. Kufanele babe lencwadi.
I think he was a bit cut off. I don't know what. Are you still there, Ntando?
Yeah, I'm still there.
Yeah, kumele babe lencwadi ezinjani?
Kumele babe lencwadi zona lezi ze-COVID, certificate se-COVID, babe nama-permit ama-passport abo ngoba bavunyelwa ukuhamba manje. Ama-permit sikhuluma ngama-permanent resident, ama-special permit, ama-Zimbabwe special permit. Namanye ama-permit nje, ama-work permit. Ukuthi sekutshintshile ngoba kodwa yinto ababe-announcile ekuqaleni. Ngazi ukuthi mhlawumbe sekutshintshile sekuvunyelwa wonke umuntu manje ngoba sekuvuliwe.
So Jonga, I think Mr. Juru is ready. Can you introduce him?
Yes, Mr. Dennis Juru is the president of the International Cross-Border Traders Association. Juru Magadi.
Silipo Magadi Nkoma Jonga Magadi takubona babatule.
Yebo kunjani Juru? Yes, cela usondela kakhulu efonini yakho kwenza isikuzwe. Ungayifaka ku speaker phone, sondela baba. Sondela kakhulu. Yeah, so Mbonazani is ready now. So
yes. Vajuru tinoona kuti sangano renyu kubva pavharwa mabhodha muna March ranga richirwisa kuti miganhu iyo inge ichivhurwa. Since March, your association was fighting hard for the borders to open so that people may carry on with their economic activities. What's your take on this latest development that borders opened yesterday?
Yes, it's true, Jonga. We have been fighting for the reopening of borders, and we have even been fighting for the borders to be reopened without conditions, especially for the business people like cross-border traders. But unfortunately, the government of Zimbabwe accepted our request by reopening borders with conditions, and this has been long overdue. We're expecting them to reopen those borders, I mean, in line with the reopening of South African borders, because there's no way we can have a South African border reopening, but the Zimbabwean side is still locked. So it's very unfortunate for the poor Zimbabweans that our government failed to allow us as poor Zimbabweans to start our business as usual. But for now, the government have opened the border for travelers who will be traveling with private cars, those travelers who will be flying, those travelers, pedestrians are now allowed to cross the border. But you know, if you say pedestrians, it means you mean local people, people who lives around the border, because there's no way someone can walk from Harare so that they can cross the border and start walking again to wherever, Joburg, Lusaka, or wherever they will be intending to go. So it seems like this is an anti-poor gradual reopening of the border. We are still fighting because what they were supposed to consider is to consider business people, and of which the cross-border traders are in the bracket of business people. We are still fighting. We are still engaging the government so that they can allow cross-border traders to start operating. People have been home for the past something like 8 months without making a living, and we will still appeal to the government that they should allow traders to start operating as usual.
So now, how many people have crossed the borders so far since the borders were open? Can you give us a breakdown?
Yes, the records we have as of yesterday, yesterday only, which was the 1st of December, at Bedford Border Post, they received 6,338 travelers, of which 622 was turned back because they didn't have enough documentation. At Plumtree Border Post, 2,148 people used Plumtree Border Post yesterday, and 213 people didn't have proper documentation. Forbes Border Post, which is in Manekaland, Mutare, received 1,674 travelers, and of the 1,674 travelers, 531 didn't have proper documentation. If we go to Chirundu Border Post, bordering Zimbabwe and Zambia, 1,148 people visited that border. Of the 1,148, 314 people didn't have proper documentation. At Nyamapanda Border Post, 741 people used that border yesterday only, and 38 people of the 741 didn't have proper documentation. At Victoria Falls Border Post, bordering Zimbabwe with Zambia, 691 people used that border, and 41 people of the 691 people didn't have proper documentation. When we say proper documentation, it ranges from even the COVID-19 test certificates. Some of the people were just coming without COVID-19 test certificates, or with a COVID-19 test certificate which was expired. What do we mean by expired? COVID-19 test certificate is valid for only 72 hours, which is 3 days. So we advise all travelers to make sure they have proper documentation, and it's very, very simple. What they need to add on top of what of the documentation they used to carry is only COVID-19 certificate, which is less than 3 days old. So we advise all the travelers to stick to that regulation, because otherwise they are going to be disappointed. And at the same time, travelers should not try to use buses if they don't have documents which prove that they are not resident in Zimbabwe. If you are a resident, if you are a Zimbabwean resident, don't even attempt to use a bus, as you face some consequences at the border.
Yes, we can hear him.
Yes, on the buses, Mr. Juru, we understand that the buses have to forward names of their passengers to the consulate in South Africa before they even get to the border. Is that true? And if so, may you explain a bit?
Yes, it is true. Now, if a bus wants to travel to Zimbabwe, they should first forward a passenger list, meaning people should book the bus prior to their travel, and then the bus company will forward the passenger list. Passenger list will mean the list of people that will be on that bus, or that will be boarding the bus. So this will take about 2 days for the bus to be allowed to travel to their destination in Zimbabwe. So what they need to do is, if you are intending to go to Blawa, if you are intending to go to Harare anyway in Zimbabwe, just phone your preferred bus company and make arrangements so that they can include your names and your passport details to the Consulate General in South Africa, so that they can be issued with a permit to travel to Zimbabwe. And the permit will have the passenger list attached, stamped by the Consulate General.
Yes, Tonga, I think there is one phone that is giving us a bit of feedback, but I think maybe they can mute their phones. Mr. Juru, can you mute your phone there? And Ndlovu, if you can you mute the button, the phone button, just mute it so that we cannot hear that background noise. It's a lot of it.
All right.
Yeah, okay. That's right. So definitely now they've muted their phones. So we've got some other people that were sending us a lot of videos, a lot of information about what is going on. And one of them is another Malaicha. Let's listen to what he's saying here. Chonga is a guy that comes from Material North. So he's one guy that has been in this business for a very, very, very long time. So let's get him onto the show and hear what he says. There he goes.
Ninjani badala bengithanda ukuthi ngibingelele dini lonke abadala sihlobo nabangane kwabangaziyo nabangangaziyo. Mina ibizo nginguTalent ngwakoNdlovu. Ngiphuma esigodini saseNyamendlovu eDelhi kwaNdlovu. Abanengi bangazi ngomalume Malayitha, abanengi bangazi ngokumbiza ngegama, abanye bangazi ngokumbiza ngesibongo. Ngokuhlala ngibest kakhulu eCape Town. Ngilayitha ngisuka eCape Town ngibheka eBulawayo, ngibheka eNyamendlovu, ngibheka eCholocho. neHarare nayo ngiyayithwala mayimpahla zakhona zithe zaba ziningi. Then ngibale oKadoma mawuhamba via Harare. Bengifuna ukuthanda ukukhuluma ngendaba yecorona. Singabomalayitha sonke le ndaba yecorona isiphathe kabi kakhulu. Kakhulu isiphathe kabi kakhulu. Sehlulekile nokuthi siwondla abantu abethu ngoba yonke into ibivaliwe, amabhode bevaliwe, imoto zingavumelekanga ukuthi zingene, nabantu bengavumelekanga ukuthi bengene ngoba siphila ngakho thina lokho. Kodwa ke kungasenani sibonge njengoba upresident wethu ethe wavula lapha avule khona. So nathi sinethemba njengoba kuvuliwe ukuthi izinto zizawubuyela ngesimo, nathi sisathi sikwazi ukuthi sibhekele labantu abethu nani njengaba customer ethu, nathi sinethemba lokuthi saphinda futhi sisebenzisaneni kahle ngendlela lebe sisebenzisana ngayo. And the two, lingakhohlwa ukuthi sisebenza kanjalo silandeleni umthetho, ligqoka ama-maski, li sanitize nezandla zenu. And the two, eborder kuyafunakala i-certificate se-COVID-19. Kunjalo ke kumele before uye kumele ube ne-certificate se-COVID-19. So sicela ukuthi sisebenzisaneni kanjalo, siubambeneni umthetho ukwenzela ukuthi futhi kungaphindi kugcine kuvalwa. Angithi bengaphindi bevala futhi ukuthi hayi abantu sebetheleke kakhulu umkhuhlane usukhona futhi, so kugcine kuvalwa kusilambise sonke ngoba siyakwazi ukuthi sonke singabanengi, especially abantu abanengi abakulela lizwe balapha eSouth Africa and esiphila ngakho khona lokho ukuthi kube kulayitshwa, silayitha sihambisa impahla ekhaya, sihambisa nabantu ekhaya ngoba abanengi abanazi imoto zokuthi besihambele ngemoto zawo, bathembele kubomalayitha. Nempahla abanengi abakwazi ukuthi bezithwalele impahla zawo, bathembe thina singomalayitha. So besicela sincedisaneni khona lapho. And okunye sathanda ukubonga ukuthi lisupportile noba kunjalo icorona bekuyisikhathi secorona kodwa lisupportile. So besithanda ukuthi sibonge khona lapho, siyabonga kakhulu. Njengoba amabhodi evuliwe sijabulile kakhulu ngokusebenza, ngokuthi siyaqala ukusebenza, yonke into ihamba ngomumo, yonke into ihleli kahle. So abanesifiso sokuthi bebekwazi umalume ukuthi umalume utholakala kanjani kuphi, ungangidinga kuFacebook ngomalume uMalayitha. Uzongithola khona lapho, kanye inamba zami ezase South Africa zithi 084 461 2095. Easy number zami lezo. Ngiyabonga kakhulu.
So that's another Malayitha there. So these guys are very innovative. They are doing a lot of business, across the borders. And we know that they know exactly what happens across the borders. So there's a lot of issues. There are a lot of issues that he was talking about here. And basically is concerned about the devastating effects of COVID-19. So he says, some of them were no longer working. And if ever they were doing anything, it was at a very low level. So now they're able to cross the borders. So he's advising people to always carry, all the documents that are wanted whenever they're transporting people across the borders, and even their goods too. So he's saying all that is needed. So this is exactly what our other guest in Tandontovu was actually saying, because these guys play a critical role in society. Chonga?
Gibbs, he warned his colleagues of the dangers of COVID-19. He said this is something we should take seriously, and people are urged to take precautions and observe regulations, which is something that I think is very important in this aspect. Manzwa Mukoma Mtando Ndlovu vanoita basa rekutyaira vachibva Cape Town vachipinda munzvimbo dzakasiyana-siyana muZimbabwe kusanganisira muHarare vachitakura zvinhu zvakasiyana-siyana zvamunokwanisa kutumidzira navo kumusha muchitumira kuhama dzenyu. Kana ivo vasvika kuZimbabwe muchikwanisa kuti ndigirei chakati, handizivi hangu kuti vanozokwanisa here kuti igira zvatete tichida zvakafanana nemadora mazhanje nezvimwe zvakadaro, asi basa vanokuitirai vari kuSouth Africa. Vari kutaurawo kuti tisakanganwa kuti chirwere cheCovid-19 chirwere chiriko, saka ngatichingwarirei Gibbs.
Yes, and we've got a lady that is a cross-border trader as well. She's based in Bulawayo. Her name is Pretty Mpofu. Let's hear what she's saying about her business.
Ibizo lami nguPretty Mpofu. Ngingumama ophila ngokuthengisa, ngiwoda ngaphandle kwamazwe ngizothengisa ngapha eZimbabwe. Njengoba lokho kwaqala i-lockdown, savalelwa amabhoda, savalelwa ukuthi sichaphe imingcele ngaphandle kwamalizwe siyewoda. Njengomama ophila ngokusebenza, ngihlangane lama-challenges okuthi kungasaphileki sokunzima. Sesingasakwanisa ukuthi siphume ngaphandle kwelizwe siyewoda. Sesisenza ukuthi sithumele abanye abantu ukuthi basiwodele ngale ngaphandle kwamazwe. Abantu labo esibaphinda sibabhadale futhi izimali, siphinde futhi sifake la kuma cargo trucks ayiwavungela uNkulunkulu kuba nahambe. Kuma cargo trucks lapho lakho futhi besihlala lama challenges ukuthi kwezinye izikhathi impahla besilahleka, kwezinye izikhathi besidurisela, thereby bese sicina sihlangana lokuthi ipa business bese siwenza all this time during lockdown period besingasatholi ama profits. And another problem futhi bese sihlangana layo ukuthi ngesikhathi khona phana kule lockdown singathengisi singahambi, sihlangane lama challenges ukuthi sacina sisidla imali zokuoda, sacina sesidla imali zonke zokuthi siwode, ongawa ukuthi sikhuluma kumanje nje noma sokuthe sokuvuliwa amabhoda ingcele ukuthi siphosele ngaphandle kwamanye amazwe sivuliwe, akusahambe ngoba zona imali zokuthi sibuyele back isiqalisa amabhizinisi asela mali, sesadla zonke imali zokuoda, sasala nje sizidlalele. Phezu kwakuthi khona lokhu ngesikhathi se-lockdown, ngesikhathi isikhathi sama-cargo trucks, ngesikhathi isikhathi salabo abantu esibathi ngamarana abayibada abantu besiwodela izinto, besihlangana lama-challenges wathi abaningi bakhona bengathembakalanga, kusiba lokulahleka kwezimali, kube lokubuya kwezinto zishodile. So engingakutsho ukuthi i-lockdown lesikhathi se-COVID-19 njengama-cross-border traders, omama abangama-widows, omama abangama-single mothers, hlangane lama-challenges amaningi akuhlukumezeka, abaningi sigcine sesigula imikhuhlane yokuba le-stress, imikhuhlane yama-heart problems. Ngenxa yakhona lokhu ukuthi kuyabe kunzima njengomama uhlangane lama-challenges ukuthi nxa uvele uphila ngokuthi uzisebenze uzithengise uchaphe ngaphandle kwemingcele yewoda, sesihlezi manje ezindlini asisathengisi, asisela mali yokuhoda. Uhulumende laye waphinda wasithembisa izimali zokuhoda wathi uzasinika imali ama-cushion fund awe COVID-19. Ama-cushion fund lawa nathe kuya kwakuya kungama-$60 in RTGS, okuyimali esingazange senelise ukuthi vele singathengani ngayo, ngaphandle kokuthi iningi lethu sathatha lezo mali zathenga impuphu kwaba yikuphela kwayo. So besikhangelela ukuthi at least ngabe kade singomama njengoba nje sokuvuliwa imingcele yokuthi sikrosele ngaphandle kwamazwe, sithole uncedo lokuthi sithole imali zokuthi siphinde sirestoke, siqalise futhi amabhizinisi ethu, siqalise futhi ukwenelisa ukondla abantwana impilo ziqhubekele phambili. Ngiyabonga.
So that is pretty powerful. She's saying a lot of things here, and one of the things, Jonga, is on, challenges that they've been facing. So she says one of the issues was on, the COVID-19 pandemic, which actually confined them to their homes. So she says they ended up using all the seed money that they had, because of these challenges. And at the same time, the cargo trucks that were allowed by the government were really unreliable. At times they were losing their goods. In most cases, they were expensive in terms of ferrying these goods across the borders. And she says that they were given only 60 bond by the government as part of the stimulus package to help businesses. So she says, no, in fact, they didn't even use that money to buy goods, but they had to buy food because they had nothing to eat. So that's the scheme of things there.
ongumanzwa vadiwa vateereri zvataurwa naamai Pretty Mpofu vari kubulawayo vanorarama nekutenga vachitengesa vanoenda vachinohodha kuSouth Africa vatengesawo zvakare kuSouth Africa vari kuti aiwa kuvhurwa kwakaitwa miganho nezuro kwakauya sechinhu chakarerutsa upenyu hwevanhu vakawanda kusanganisira naivo sezvo vanga vachita dambudziko rekuti vanga vachiwana mararamiro nokuti vakapedzisira vatozodya mari yavaifanira vachipinza mubhizinesi yatingati mbeu yekudyara mubhizinesi mavo inganzi seed money. Vari kutora rubatsiro rwavakawana kuhurumende rwanga ruri mari shoma shoma zvekuti havana zvikuru zvavakaita kunze kwekutongotengera mhuri chikafu. Vataurawo nyaya yekuti iro dambudziko reCovid-19 riri kuvhara zvinhu ndechimwe chechinhu chinoramba fanira kunge vachichengeterwa pfungwa nevanhu muchichengeta mupfungwa menyu kuti kune dambudziko reCovid-19 tose tisakanganwa. Gibbs.
Yes, we still have Mr. Ntando Ndlovu. You can pose a question. He's going to respond.
Yes. Mr. Ndlovu.
Yes, I think his phone is muted, so
okay.
He's trying to unmute. So, Baba Ndlovu, can you hear? Yeah, I can hear you.
Oh, yes. Mr. Ndlovu, yesterday was the first day and today the second day. Any upsurge or rise in customers approaching you to help ferry their goods?
Yes, as I said before, we've been doing it since level 3. So for us, like it's good news that the is opening. So now we get to like we cannot call it back to normal, but it's better than before. So now it's a lot of people now start calling them. Like a lot of people are gonna need to travel home since now we're going to Christmas holiday. So I think now business is gonna be better now.
Yeah. So Christmas sibuyile sibe baba Baba Ndlovu. So ngasubona ke Baba Ndlovu ongani kuyahlupha kuyini emngceleni lapha. Sizwa kuthiwa kukhona ukuhlupha kakhulu. Njalo utshela abantu ukuthi nxa befuna ukuthi bekuphathise kumele bekuthole njani. Ushaye sibile ngamafitshane indaba yakho lapha.
Yeah. Okade kuhlupha kakhulu eborder ikugcinwa isikhathi eside. Ama-officials awasiphathi kahle lapha emngceleni. Ikugcinwa isikhathi eside nifuna izimali eningazi ukuthi ngezani. Yikho nje kade kuluhlupho ikakhulu ekwelakithi ngale. Ngapha hayi kujuleka kahle nje South Africa. Mase singale kwelakithi sesifika sigcinwe. Sesikhathi kugcinwe i2 weeks yonke eborder lapho ufuna izinto eziningi. Yilo nje uhlupho lesabezana nalo.
So i2 weeks lapha bafuna imali.
I2 weeks leyo kuyabe kufuneka imali.
Eyokutiza.
So if imali ngekho then hayi ususuba lenkinga ke lapho usugcina. Hlala uyiraise leyo mali so kufanele ufonele abangani apha emuva ukuthi bakufakele izimali ukuze ukwazi ukuthi ukhaphe.
Yeah, so
mina abafuna abangabe befuna ukuthi bangiphathise bangangithola ku 076 179 1116. Thina sihamba njalo ngomgqibelo kanye ngeviki. Umgqibelo yonke siyaphuma.
Yeah, akuphinde futhi inombolo yakho baba.
Inamba ngu 076 179 1116.
Yes, sicela ubambe khonapho ke mute futhi phone yakho ububambile khonapho siyabuya kuwe Baba Ndlovu. I think we've got another guest Jonga, and this let's hold on one second. Let's introduce our next guest. There he comes. Go ahead, Jonga. Go ahead, sir.
Yes. Let me see the first Gibbs.
Yes, Mr. Taylor. Mr. Taylor.
Yes, that's Dr. Tonderai Taylor, a Zimbabwean based here in the United States of America, in Atlanta, Georgia. Dr. Taylor, welcome to our show.
Oh, I think he got cut off. I mean,
he's still adjusting his camera.
Yes, I think he touched the wrong button.
Okay.
So, yeah, things happen somehow. A person can hold that button in the wrong way. So we've got a poet. You know this poet, Opet Dube, is in a competition, or let me say, it's not a competition per se. He has been invited to a certain awards ceremony, let's hear what he's saying about this, Chonga. I think you say it very briefly. Just hold on there. Let me just try to bring him, and then we hear what he's saying. There he comes.
Ibizo lami ngingu-Obert Dube, nginomnetwork Pan-African Poet of the Year, i-Afrika yonkana jikelele. Umcimbi wakhona uzabe useCameroon mhla zili-13 kuMpalakazi edolobheni laseDouala. Ngicela lingivotele bakithi. Uhamba kulelo khasi, ubusungena ku-inbox, ubusubhala inamba ezithi #801. Ivoti lakho liqakatheke kakhulu, lingangenza ngixhase bese ngithola isicoco lesi. Ngiyabonga. Iheji yami ithwele nzima ngomkakho, usengathi ijura olendlu yami. Ungicela i-charger yeSamsung ekseni, angicele eNokia mini, angicele Hawaii ntambama. Uphuma phandle ethandela ilembu, wenza imikhuba yakhe umkami engekho. Uyangibhaza ngifone athi sorry ifone yakhe izidayila yodwa. Uyangifonela ngicela ukuthi amagetsi azahamba. Uyakwazi ngisebenzeze mina. Makhelwani, khuza umkakho. Ngibona njengesilwane esengela nzipho lamazwane. Makhelwani, khuza umkakho. Uzafuya amagoli usithi ngokiti, uzafuya amakhanku usithi izinja. Ezale sibani siyakwazi ngiyakho sibili, kodwa makhelwani khuza umkakho.
That is a Poet Dube. You know, he's got a lot to tell, you know, and he decides these things every time.
He's very good. He reminds me of my days in school, Gibbs. I used to be a very good poet.
You can even do it now, you know.
I can, but you know, I need to put my head in gear. Yes.
Let's bring in. Maybe I can make money out of you, you know.
Yeah, you can, Gibbs, as long as I'm the manager.
So now let's try to get Taylor. I think Taylor has got a challenge with his network.
Yes.
Every time it tries to come in, then he's a bit cut off. Let's be talking to. Okay, I think maybe we're going to get him now. Just hold on 1 second. I think there he comes. Okay. So, Dr. Taylor, how are you?
I'm all right. How are you?
Oh, very good. Chonga, go ahead.
Yes, Taylor, makadi zvenyu.
Tiripo makadi baba.
Aiwa ndiri mupenyu, tinotenda kuti makwanisa kuwana nguva yekupinda muchirongwa chedu. Nyaya toda kuti kurukure ndeyekwenyu kuGeorgia ikoko ndokuri kunzi nevarimi vakawanda vezvematongerwo enyika musarudzo ndokwamira kukohwiwa ikoko kuti vaone kuti vakohwa chii.
Ndizo chaizvo.
Tiri kunzwa vaTrump vari kutaura kuti aiwa kwakabirirwa zvemhando yepamusoro, asi nezuro takazoona kwakaitwa dzokororo yekuverengwa kwesarudzo zvikaonekwa kuti aiwa hakuna zvakanyanya kunge zvakasiyana nezvakabuda pasarudzo pakuverengwa kwekutanga. Takanzwawo zvakare gweta rehurumende vaWilliam Barr vachitaura kuti havana kuona umbo hwekuti sarudzo dzakabiridzirwa. Zvizvi zvamungataurawo pamusoro penyaya yesarudzo iyi?
Hapana kubirirwa kwakaitwa pasarudzo yachangopfuura. Chinoita kuti ndokuti vakuru kana vakundwa ndozvazvinoita. Chekutanga ndechekuti makore ese apfuura aya yanga iriko voter suppression indirectly, nekuti munoziva kuti vanhu vazhinji vechitema havana minzi dzekudriva kuenda kumapolling station kwavanonovhotera, uyezve vanhu vazhinji vechitema havana mabasa akanaka. Saka zvichireva kuti panguva yekuvhota iyi iyo vanenge vari kumabasa kumashift vaisakwanisa kuvhota. But nyaya yekuti kwakazoitwa mail in voting yakakwaita kuti vanhu vazhinji vakwanise kuvhota vasingaise mabasa avo pakaipa kana kuti vasingadzinge kumabasa, uye vasingatsvage transport yekuenda kumapolling stations. Saka vaikwanisa kuvhota nguva ichiripo, vanhu vese vakakwanisa kuvhota kunyange vaisakwanisa kuvhota kare. Saka manamba ose akabuda achivhotiswa aya, zviro kwazvo vanhu vakavhota hasi ekubirira ba.
Maybe you can explain the same in English, Dr. Taylor.
Yeah, sure. The voting that has happened in Georgia is one of the fairest, I believe, over the years, and it has given opportunities to people who were not able to vote before. Understanding our voting situation or our voting laws here in the state of Georgia, or mostly in the southern states, voter intimidation is not where people are intimidated directly, but most people, some of them if they've committed some small crimes and they are afraid to come to polling stations. That's one. And secondly, most of the people work shift jobs. And during the voting day, some of them might not be able to come to vote. And number three, some people are far away from polling stations. They don't have movement to go to polling station. So you see that what Stacey Adams did was to arrange and to organize transportation for people to go to voting stations. That's one. And number two, the mail-in voting enabled all those people who could not make it to the voting stations, to the polling stations on election day, to be able to vote. One, people who had some form of minor crimes, they're afraid to go to voting stations because there are always police people there. But in this case, they could just mail in their vote, so there's no they're not afraid anymore to go to polling stations. So you find that most of the black and the people of non-white people were able to vote without any fear of going to the voting stations. And thirdly, those people who had shift jobs, they were able to vote and mail their votes without losing any form of income per se. So that enabled a lot of people who vote for the Democratic Party to vote, whereas in other years they were not able to vote because of those other issues.
Thank you so much, Dr. Taylor Gibbs. You heard it from Dr. Taylor there that Stacey Adams opened avenues for many black people in Georgia who were not able to vote in previous elections, but this time they managed to vote. I think she's one of the drivers behind the successful win in Atlanta, in Georgia for the Democratic Party. She did a lot making sure that people go out to vote. And the mail-in votes, they counted so much in favor of the Democratic Party because many people, as Dr. Taylor explained, used to fear going out to vote there. I remember that even back home, I grew up in a certain location where I cannot mention names. But, some guys, they used to send us as young boys to buy them whatever they wanted at the shops, be it beer, cigarettes and all that, because themselves, they were afraid to go to the shops because the police were hunting for them.
That's right.
So this time, these guys, were able to vote because of the mail-in system. And also the fact that there were boxes where people would just walk and drop their ballots. That's one thing that also helped. But those are the votes that President Donald Trump is disputing, Gibbs.
Yes, so Dr. Taylor, we see that there's another election coming. So at the end of the day, if people fear going to the polls, and we see that there's a clash between Republicans and the president and the governor and everybody else, what's going to happen to this senatorial runoff?
Well, they're still issuing out mail-in ballots. As of now, I think they've issued over 750,000 mail-in ballots to people who are willing to vote by mail. So we expect the same. The only danger is that, or the only downside is that right now, with what the president is saying, that there is voter fraud, it's bound to be negative on the Republican Party because people won't be going to the voting stations anyway because they see no reason to vote when the election is going to be fraudulent. So it's not a positive thing on the Republican Party, but I believe right now the Democrats are motivated to vote, and the mailing voting papers have been sent out already, and the Democrat grassroots people are doing a lot of work encouraging people to vote. So if the turnout remains the same, then the possibilities of those senatorial seats flipping is real.
Gibbs, this is what Attorney General Barr told the Associated Press, the AP, that U.S. attorneys and FBI agents have been working to follow up specific complaints and information they have received, but Court, to date, we have not seen fraud on a scale that could have affected a different outcome in the election of court. That is what Attorney General Barr has said. So, with these words, he is disputing his president, Gibbs.
So, now, what happens, Dr. Taylor, if an Attorney General who are supposed to investigate these so-called fraud cases says, no, you know what, FBI and other people in the Department of Justice are finding no evidence. So this effectively means Mr. Trump is out of the presidency, right?
That is correct. Mr. Trump, as it stands with the declared states, is automatically out of the office come January 21st. Right now, I think the strategy for him is to continually say that this election has been fraudulent, so that it takes away the legitimacy of President-elect Joe Biden when he takes office. It's an argument that he can use to relaunch a campaign in 2024 if he chooses to do so, but at the same time, knowing the current president, he's someone who likes the press and it keeps him on the press all the time.
Ndofunga ndingangokanda mubvunzo zvangu neshona Gibbs kuna Dr. Taylor. Dr. Taylor, tinoona kuti imo mu Georgia mamuri mune sarudzo dziri kutarisirwa kuti dzingangozove nechekuita chikuru kwazvo kuCongress uku, kuSenate, dzeSenate. Zvii zvamungataura pamusoro pesarudzo iyoyo, tichiona kuti kunenge kuri kutarisirwa kuita rerun?
Tingati izvozvi sarudzo yekuGeorgia yakosha zvikuru kune mapato ose ari kukwikwidzana, nekuti akawiniwa nemademocrats zvinoreva kuti mademocrats akuwana majority, because nenyaya yekuti vice president anenge ari mudemocrats ndiye anenge akukasta the deciding vote if pakaita mangange. Masitsi ayanga ari maRepublicans so far, asi nezvatiri kuona zviri kuitika muno muGeorgia, ndosaka maziso ose enyika aratarisa kuGeorgia kuti maRepublicans akwanise kuwina masitsi iwayo, vomaintaina majority yavo mumba huru. Avo maDemocrats arikuda kuti awine masitsi iwayo kuti akwanise kuti vafambise zvido zvavo zvinenge zvichitungamirirwa naPresident-elect Joe Biden.
Asi muchitarisa mafambiro ari kuita kutsvagwa kwerutsigiro pari zvino, muri kuona zvakarerekera kudivi ripi? Tichiona kuti veRepublican Party vari kuburikidza naPresident Trump vari kuti sarudzo ikoko dzakabirwa. Zvinhu zvingatarisirwa here kuti zvingashanduka pane sarudzo dziri kuitwa idzodzi?
Pari zvino hationi zvichishanduka, nekuti matauriro ari kuita mutungamiriri wenyika President Donald Trump ari kuti izvo avo vakaita sarudzo vakabirira. Saka vazhinji vebato ravo vari kutsutsumwa kuti tinonovhota sei kana tichibirirwa. Saka izvozvo zviri kuita kuti vanhu vavo vange vachitsutsumwa kuuya kuzovhota zvakare. Saka maonero edu ndeyekuti zvikaramba zvakadaro, maDemocrats vanokwanisa kuwina masitsi iwayo.
Thank you so much, Dr. Taylor. Gibbs.
So, Dr. Taylor, we see that the president is going to be campaigning at the weekend in Georgia. What's your take on that?
Yes, he has promised to come this Saturday to campaign in Georgia. The challenge is he is really fighting against his own statements. On one side, where he's saying that the election has been stolen or there have been invalid votes that have been casted in the state of Georgia, and he's fighting with the Republican team that leads the state of Georgia, who are saying that everything that has been voted has been validated and it's valid. Now, what's happening here is that if he is coming here to endorse these current two senatorial candidates to go through, but at the same time, he's also saying that the voting system is not fair or is fraudulent in one way or the other, which in this case he is trying to energize his best to come back and vote again, the same best that he's telling that if you vote, your election is going to be stolen. So he has got to up his task right now, as far as we can say.
Jonga?
Yes, ndongodzokorera mubvunzo wataurwa naGibbs Dr. Taylor kuti tinoziva kuti vaTrump vari kutarisirwa kuuya kunotsvaga rutsigiro vachibatsira nhengo dzavo dziri kukwikwidza musarudzo yeseneti iyoyi. Munotarisira chii kubva kuna vaTrump tichiona kuti mamiriro akaita zvinhu mubato ravo reRepublican Party pari zvino munenge musina kuzvivira kana kudhonzera pamwe chete nenyaya yekuti vamwe vari kuti sarudzo dziri kubirwa vamwe vachiti aiwa zvakabuda ndizvozvo?
Vari kuuya zviro kwazvo musi weSaturday kuno kuAtlanta kuGeorgia kuti vazokurudzira nhengo dzebato ravo kuti vauye vachivhota, asi chiri kukatyamadza vazhinji ndechekuti ivo vari kuti sarudzo yakaitwa pekutanga muna November yakabirirwa. Saka vateedzeri vebato ravo vari kuti zvinotovhoterei zvakare isiza kuti zvichadi mavhotsi acho achabiwa zvakare. Saka kuuya kwavari kuita ndofunga varida kuruchidza vanhu vavo kuti vauye vavhote kunyange zvazvo vachiti vakabirirwa.
Thank you so much. And Gibbs, remember on the 14th of December, the Electoral College is meeting to certify the winner of the 2020 elections. Gibbs, what can you say about that?
So the electors come to Washington basically to come and vote for the president. So we know that a president has to amass 270 votes from the electors in order to become a president. So as it is right now, it's still, it's not shaky, but it's something that has been pegged by Joe Biden, as per what newspapers are saying and radio stations and everybody else. But when the electors come to Washington and cast all those votes, for the president-elect Joe Biden, it will then solidify him as the president-elect proper, that this guy now is ready to go. So thereafter, then they'll wait for the inauguration. And, right now we know that, Joe Biden is actually is now in a position to get some kind of insights of some security issues. Is also capable of talking to any government official to find out what is going on, including the issue of COVID-19. So preparations appear to be moving towards December 14th, where these electors will cast their votes, and those votes will be taken by Congress. Then Congress signs them. After they are signed and sealed, then officially Biden becomes the president-elect proper. It becomes official at that stage. At this stage, is not yet official. So when it becomes official is the time when all the electors have cast the 270 plus votes. So that's where it is now. Thereafter, then inauguration and everyone else becomes happy or very unhappy about the whole status quo, So that's what is going to happen.
Yes. Ndikandikande mubvunzo kuna Dr. Taylor kuti pane vamwe vari kutyira kuti dzimwe nguva ivo vari kusarudzwa kubva kumatunhu ivava vanonovhota paelectoral college apo panogona kuti vasvika ikoko voti aiwa isusu tinogona kuti tichinje maonero edu tosarudza asina kusarudzwa nedunhu redu. Zvingatarisirwa here zvekuti vanozonochinja vakavhoterwa toti vaBiden ndo vakavhoterwa kudunhu reGeorgia uko, vasvika vamakasarudza kuti anga achienda kunovhota uko kunokuwa kuDC osvikochinja kuti aiwa ndofunga kuti vaTrump ndo vakahwina kwedu uko.
Mukutaurika zvinogona kutaurika saizvozvo, asi mubumbiro remutemo remastates ese zvawo anokodzerwa kuti kana zvichinge zvaita saizvozvi bato rimwe rahwina mustate yacho, mutemo unoti vanosarudza maelectors epati iyoyo. VeMademocrats achasarudzwa kubva muno muGeorgia vachienda kuWashington 16 mapotsa aripo vonovhota. Saka hazvina kumbobvira zvaitika, ndifunga kuti zvinoitika parwendo runo.
Thank you so much. Maybe Gibbs, you still there?
Yes, I'm there.
Yes.
So Taylor, looking at the way that Mr. Trump has been doing with his lawyers and all these other things happening in USA, you are from Zimbabwe and you have seen how elections are being conducted. Do you think the elections here genuinely were free and fair?
Yes, they were. What the president is doing is using the laws that exist within this democratic system to challenge what he thinks might give him leverage. It's just that you're allowed to challenge the results and to get recounts within a certain threshold. In this case, it's less than 1%. You're allowed in certain states to request a recount. And there's nothing wrong with what he's doing. It's within the legal system that has been structured by the democracies of this country. That one, you can request for a recount. Two, you want to make sure that every valid vote has been counted and not counted, if that is the case. So you have seen in the case of Wisconsin, where they did the recount there, and Joe Biden ended up getting more votes that had not been counted. The same that happened in Arizona, they did the recount, and here in Georgia, they did the recount again. And those are provided within the legal systems of the country, where a losing candidate can challenge the results if they've fallen within a threshold. But after, as you have mentioned, after December 14, when the Electoral College is voted, there's no recourse. He has to, and there's nothing that says a president should concede, but once you have lost, you've lost. So he can actually go out of office without conceding that I lost.
Now looking ahead, looking at what is going to happen, do you think he's going to attend the inaugural ceremony? Is he going to do that?
I think he will. I think he will.
If not,
it's unprecedented. But the fact is that Donald Trump is Donald Trump. Is someone who wants to be in the news all the time. So anything that gives him the popularity, and right now, I believe he's using this recount to get money for donations from his support base. You can imagine all the 73 million people contributing towards these cases. This money is going to be used either for his campaign in the next election season and all that. So yeah.
But how does America look like right now? When you look at the depth and breadth of democracy, is it shaken?
The system is robust, so I don't think it's shaken. It's the system of democracy in this country is robust, and it's been like this. If you go back a few years, the similar thing happened when there was the Al Gore versus Bush election, where Al Gore got the popular vote, and there was this Florida election case. But after that, people rallied together and started building their country and moving forward. The same thing when Hillary Clinton lost. Hillary Clinton got the popular vote, but he lost the Electoral College. But people would say this is a divided country in terms of who they would want to lead the time. But once the president is chosen, people fall behind and follow the president.
Maybe my last question is, since there is all this commotion about elections and COVID-19, are people going to vote in Georgia, going to the polling stations? That's the last question.
People in Georgia are excited. They want to vote. They are going to vote. Like I mentioned earlier, over 750,000 mail-in ballots have already been sent out to individuals and all those people who are willing to vote by mail. And early voting starts, I think, December 14th. So people will go there and vote before the January 5th actual election day.
Yeah, sorry, we are out of time. I think we have to end it here, Jonga. We thank our guests this evening, Dr. Tondelai Taylor, and we also wish to thank Mr. Ntando Ndlovu, who is a Malaicha. You know, a Malaicha is a very, very creative fellow that ferries goods up and down from Zimbabwe to South Africa and so forth. We also wish to thank Mr. Dennis Juru of the Cross-Border Traders Association of Zimbabwe. Signing off is Kip Stube in Maryland saying good night, Zimbabwe.
And I'm Jonga Kandemiri, also in Maryland. Thank you.
Good night, guys. Good night.
Good night. Thank you.